here with at CPAC Mexico with the president of Mis amigos migrantes, pues aquí estoy.
Total catastrophe, and it is a crisis.
Of a child, right there. All these NGOs, you're fake. It is this, the crisis of children.
Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much. It is 9:16, late at night. It is Wednesday, November 27th of the year 2024. Wow, this is an extremely important live feed, as they have asked me multiple times since I started, since the first threat of the tariff, that it was done by President Trump back when AMLO was still president. I'm still a little bit sick, so I will try to do the best that I can for you guys. So back when AMLO was president, they put a threat of a tariff, 5% tariff on the automobile industry, avocado and beer. That immediately had a trickle effect. Man, watching from Mission Gorge, I used to live over there, man. Mission Gorge Road, I used to live over there, man. It had a trickle effect immediately. Things got fixed. Immediately, when he was president, things got fixed. The past president, AMLO, deployed more than 15,000 National Guards to the north and to the south. And the Caravan started decreasing, started getting dismantled immediately, right? Immediately. So this is the thing. Donald Trump has been completely emphatic again, saying now that he's becoming president, saying that he will put a threat of a tariff, of a 25% threat of a tariff into Mexico if this doesn't get resolved. If the mass migration doesn't get resolved, if the contamination of fentanyl doesn't get resolved. And today in the morning, the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, responded to Donald Trump, saying that this is not a solution, that this is, threatening with the tariff. It is not a way to dialogue. She has her own entitled right. And, and she started saying, we need to dialogue, we need to sit down. This is a bilateral problem. Things that I have been saying for the past years are things that are actually, and I'm not giving myself a tap in the back, but I have told you guys multiple times, and I have said this so many times when I have been with Steve Bannon, with Grant Stinchfield, with people in Epoch Times, with all kinds of people. They have asked me, how do we get this fixed? And I said, you hit them in the pockets. And that is the only way that this is going to get fixed. Now, the United States of America has a huge exchange key that the Mexican government does not want for him to open his mouth. And this is El Mayo Zambada. El Mayo Zambada is the kingpin, much bigger than in Chapo Guzman, and he is in custody in the United States of America. El Mayo Zambada knows which politician has been involved, how much money they're getting paid, who they were getting paid, how they were getting paid, who was getting bribed. He knows everything. So they have a big exchange. Possibly the negotiation today was like, hey, I got somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. But let me just fast forward to another thing. That's another thing. The threat of a tariff. I have been saying this for the past years. And all of a sudden, this threat of a tariff catch the attention of the Mexican president. And the Mexican president said, you know what? It's time to dialogue, because he's coming into government. And he's going to come into government, and the first thing that he's going to do is put that threat of a tariff into our country. Everybody knew that that was not going to escalate. Also, not only that, what you just saw with Justin Trudeau, it is also the trickle effect that it was going to have on Canada, that they were going to put tariffs also on Canada. And ultimately, Canada said, we're going to stop illegal migration. So this was posted today. I will go into detail because a lot of people do not understand. And a lot of Americans get upset that this is a bilateral problem. What do I mean bilateral problem? I'm agreeing with the Mexican president on this because I have been saying this for years and years and years. The United States of America, not the American citizens, the mafia, the bad people, is the number one consumer for synthetic drugs. The United States of America, it is the number one consumer for fentanyl, number one consumer for cocaine, number one consumer for synthetic drugs, number one consumer for child pornography, number one consumer for child trafficking. As you guys see, more than 300,000 children that are missing, number one consumer. But the most aggravating thing is that the United States of America, it is also the number one, the mafia is the number one distributor of artillery and high technology guns to the cartel from the United States to Mexico. The artillery comes from over here to over there. So it is a bilateral problem. Yes, it is. And for order to decrease that, you have to decrease the demand. You cannot put the guilt on one particular situation. We know that we got the cartel, and this is the number one problem, the cartel, but also the demand. This will not coexist so massively if the demand was so much higher. Not only that, there's another problem. That is the letter organizations in the United States of America. You guys know which letter organizations I am talking about. Extremely corrupt, extremely infiltrated in every government and in every country. And they destabilize sometimes relations. This is one of the situations which needs to get fixed. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that they are bilateral problem. You will not have an addiction problem if it was that many demand. You will not have a problem with distribution if it was that many demand. The current administration of the United States of America, the one that is coming, the Trump administration, has so much responsibility, man. My God, it's going to be extremely difficult to fix it. But they are going to do something about it. And for them to stop this, first and foremost, secure the border. Stop the funding, as I just said. Stop the federal grants to these NGOs that they are the one in charge, not only of the massive distribution of children. Leave that on the other side. The massive influx that is coming, it is because of this NGOs that they are working under international law. That is the Global Compact on Migration. Stop the funding, federal grants, cut the funding, audit, investigate, prosecute. Meanwhile, you're doing that. You have to do a massive operation of deportation. That is what you are going to do. But not only that, now you have another responsibility that you need to dismantle the organized crime that is working inside of your country. These are the cartels that they're already distributing massively and working, and they already have territory inside of the United States of America. So you have a lot of responsibility inside of your country to fix it. But, there's an oopsie right here. The Mexican president is saying this is a bilateral problem. So the Mexican president is basically challenging the United States of America to say, you fix your problems, I'll fix mine. Watch out to the Mexican president, I'm saying. You're being really blunt, and you're being brave to say this. But let me tell you, if Trump comes, he's not going to play around. Tom Homan, he's not going to play around. These people are not going to play around. They are going to fix the problem. And when they fix it, they're going to look at you and say, I just fixed the problem and your problem is not getting fixed. Your cartels are still distributing. You have an enormous problem. Still, they're trying to infiltrate, and still they try to smuggle. I fixed my problem. Now it's your turn. And if you're not fixing it, bam, there you go, 25% tariff. This is the situation. There's time for negotiation. That is extremely important. Time to sit down and negotiate. That is extremely important. Extremely important. Time to negotiation. But the most important thing is for us to understand that this is a bilateral problem. It is a reality. As it is a reality of distribution of synthetics, as addiction of synthetics, as also a distribution of artillery from the United States into Mexico to the cartel. And the money, it comes from the United States, as the dollar is the currency that the cartel gets paid majority of the time. So it is a bilateral problem. But what happened today? Claudia Sheinbaum was saying, you know what? We need to sit down and dialogue, because she knows that this is coming. She knows that the tariff is coming. This was a tweet. And it's so much, it's such a scientific common sense, because he just spoke. I'm just going to put a threat of a tariff into Mexico, 25%. And immediately this caused a lot of instability in the world. A lot of the other countries were saying, oh my God, he's going to put a tariff on us also if we don't bend the knee. What is going to happen? But immediately Mexico started saying, like, I need to negotiate. This is not going to be something that is going to be non-negotiable. We need to negotiate. For us to have a great bilateral relationship, we need to negotiate. Now, the past administration under Manuel López Obrador said, I had a great relationship. Donald Trump said, I have a good relationship with Andrés Manuel López Obrador, although he's a socialist. And I don't like a socialist, but he's a good friend of mine. Now you see this. This was a recent post by Donald Trump. And in the post, it says this. This was today. I will be working on a large-scale United States advertising campaign explaining how bad fentanyl is for people. This right here. This was the conversation with Sheinbaum. Because Sheinbaum recently explained in her morning conferences that there is no programs in the United States of America of expanding knowledge into the youth and to American citizens to expand knowledge of what this could do to your youth, the contamination of fentanyl. So Sheinbaum explained this in the morning, and I bet that this was a conversation that she had with Donald Trump, saying to him, I try to talk to your past administration, but they were not doing squat. You need programs to educate people on what's going on with fentanyl in your country. And this is a beautiful post that says this. Let me work with the mouse right here. Explaining, it says, I will be working on a large scale United States of advertising campaign explaining how bad fentanyl is for people to use. Millions of lives are being so needlessly destroyed. By the time the campaign is over, everyone will know how really bad the horror of this drug is. This is extremely important because the Biden administration was never involved on creating a program of rehab for people that are addicted to fentanyl. And not only that, they were not even explaining in schools, creating, remember DARE? That was a program that, possibly a lot of people didn't like, but there was a program that for drug addiction and all this kind of stuff. You don't have a program today. I have said multiple times, the actual genocide that is occurring in the United States of America, it is fentanyl. It is killing more than 107,000 Americans per year. It is a reality of what is happening with this addiction problem. So the tweet goes and says, by the time of the campaign, it is over, everyone will know how really bad the horror of this drug is. Then we go to this. And this for me was like, holy cow. Man, this is a Trump effect. This was This for me, it is just unbelievable. It says right there, just had a wonderful conversation, not a good conversation, not an okay conversation. Just had a wonderful conversation for all the leftists, for all you Hispanic liberals in the United States of America. The president that you called racist, the president that you called orange man bad, the president that you called that he is against migrants, that he's against Mexican people, that he's a misogynist, that he's against women, that you basically crucified this man to saying that he is a machista, that he's this, that he's that. That same president today said that he had a wonderful conversation with the new president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. Says right there. She has agreed to stop migration through Mexico and into the United States, effectively closing our south border. We also talked about what can be done to stop the massive drug inflow into the United States and also U.S. consumption of these drugs. It was very productive conversation. I can tell you, by just watching this tweet, it was a conversation of Claudia Sheinbaum has completely been emphatic in talking about that in the United States of America, there's no programs for people to understand how bad this drug is for United States citizens. Also, she has also emphatically said that there is no rehab attention centers, or there's no prevention courses or prevention, educational videos or something that is informative for these young kids to basically not use this drug. This that he just said, I'm extremely proud to say that if this compiles and this work together, man, I'm not a fan of Claudia Sheinbaum. I'm not a fan of this president. She's a socialist president. I'm not a fan of hers, but this makes me think that there's possibly a change in the air, that possibly we have faith as Mexicans that something can be fixed. And the thing that it can be fixed, it is that now the United States of America, it is going to be the one that is going to put the example, like always, the leader of the world, to put the example on how to do things right. Massive deportation of people that they came in illegally and cheating on asylum and refugee, and the people that they're bad, that they're committing crimes. Not only that, but also putting an example of how to run a country safely. Doing that, it is a domino effect. Look what a threat of a tariff will do. Look what it will do. And I've been saying this for the longest time. People have been asking me, why do you think this has to change? And I said multiple times, the threat of a tariff, you got to hit them in the pockets for these people to understand how this can immediately change. And look at this. It immediately changed. Immediately it changed. Immediately, drastically, it changed from all the leftist journalists in Mexico talking crap about Trump, talking that he is trying to oppress Mexico, that he's trying to be an imperialist. And all of a sudden, bam, you have this. And then Claudia Sheinbaum also tweeted that she just had a wonderful conversation with Donald Trump, saying all of this to all of these people that they think that this is misogyny, that this is this, that this is that. We need to understand how important we are for each other. You know, it is the pride factor that sometimes Americans think, we don't need Mexico. We need ourselves. We export and import the most it's the biggest relationship in the whole continent. And this actually, I can give it to you right now, and it's factual. Let me just share with you something right here. And this is a statistic, it's stat. Mexico represents, let me just go right here a little bit on top where it says, yeah. Let me just read right here. I'm going to read right here so we can understand how the automobile industry, it is so important for both countries. And this is one of the things. It says Mexico's automobile industry in the country is more important. It's the country's most important manufacturing sector, accounting for over 35% of manufacturing exports by value. The United States, by far, the dominant destination for vehicles made in Mexico, with up to 79% of them heading north across the border. So the majority of the vehicles that they are from, you will see right here on the stats, Mexico represents nearly 25% of all North American vehicle production. What it is, General Motors, 354,723 vehicles. Ford Motors, Nissan, Stellantis, Toyota, Volkswagen, Honda, Kia, Mazda, Audi. This is how important it is for everybody to understand how the international relations of exporting and importing between both of these countries, it is so important to keep this afloat. So the threat of a tariff was a great strategy to basically come, sit down, and talk about what is the problems that the United States is having. The United States of America does not want this mass migration anymore. That's clear. And they want to stop the contamination of fentanyl. That's clear. That's the problem that I have with you at the border as we speak right now. How can we sit down and change this? And this is, beautiful to see two presidents having a sit-down conversation, talking about how can they deal with this problem, and and how can it actually can happen. The United States of America needs to understand that 87%, the majority of the trafficking of fentanyl comes with the vehicle ports of entry. It doesn't come to an open border gap. It doesn't come to, the majority comes as they are smuggling through vehicles in a vehicle port of entry. 87% of the people that they're smuggling fentanyl through vehicle ports of entry are American. So you need to understand how aggravating this is. The cartel that is using your citizens, the U.S. citizens, to basically smuggle into this drug into the United States of America. This is why I'm saying this is a bilateral problem. It is. The cartel has been so smart that they have infiltrated the country of the United States to strategically use the American citizens to smuggle this product inside of the United States of America, basically dominate the distribution inside of the United States of America. Thank you so much for joining in. This is the actual situation. Buy me a coffee. It is right there, pinned in the chat. I'm sorry. I'm a little sick still. I'm going to be traveling soon. Big things are going to happen in the next couple of 10 days, close to 2 weeks. So I'm going to be traveling soon, again, to give you the reality and truth of the news, like always, boots on the ground reporting. For everybody to, that wants to ask, where are we going? We're going again to an epicenter to give you guys the coverage of this disaster that it was created by, basically that it was created by these globalists. A thing that I was talking to a great guy that I just met. He's a journalist. His name is Ryan Mata. I was talking to him, and he has a documentary coming out. His documentary, it's extremely, incredible. He's compiled so much information, and it is basically about the trafficking of children into the United States of America. And he get, he practically, I love to learn from people that they actually know their stats and their statistics. I just love to learn from people. So I was in an X space, right? And we were talking, and he just interrupted me when I was saying Democrats. The Democrats are doing this, the Democrats this, with the federal funding and the federal grants to these NGOs that they're basically enabling this enormous trafficking to continue. And he just interrupted me and he said, Oscar, I know that you know a lot, Mexico, Central America, and the whole continent, but do you know who is actually, enabling this money to go? Who's actually the one that is approving this? And I said, well, the majority are Democrats. And he said, Oscar, Mike Johnson, what is his name is Mike Johnson, the head of the Senate. I think it's Mike Johnson, right? The head of the Senate. So this guy basically is the one that has been approving more billions of dollars to be sent to these NGOs, that they are ruthlessly working at the border, more than Nancy Pelosi herself. More than Nancy Pelosi herself, Speaker Johnson has been the one that has been approving, the House of Representatives Johnson has been the one that has been approving more billions of dollars to be released into the NGOs that they're working at the border. This is actually a fact. Speaker Mike Johnson, House Speaker, has been the one that has been releasing more billions of dollars, more than Nancy Pelosi herself. This is something that should be concerning. I didn't know this. It's like I've been like Chuck Schumer, Jerry Nadler, they're the ones, because we know Gavin Newsom also, but the one that has been approving this funds to be released to the NGOs, that these NGOs are the ones that they're actually the problem of this enormous trafficking and missing children. It is Speaker Mike Johnson. And I'm like, what the hell? Why? You're supposed to not give these federal grants to these people. These people are the ones that they're causing the missing children. So many NGOs that they're extremely making billions and millions out of this catastrophe. And this is what I have said from the start. They have asked me this. Even I have been with Steve Bannon that have asked me this. What needs to be done, Oscar? First and foremost, get out of the global compact on migration. Get the power back from the United Nations, that they're the ones that they have the power over your borders. Get out of the global compact. Cut the funding to these NGOs. Cut the federal grants to these NGOs. Investigate these NGOs. Audit these NGOs. And prosecute the people that they have been distributing children to non-addresses, that they're non-existent. And I'm saying this without knowing that. I'm like, oh my God, the other day I was like, you have to be kidding me. Why? Why you're doing this to yourself, man? You're supposed to be on the good team, not on the bad team. I didn't know this. So Speaker Mike Johnson, I know that you're not listening. The hell with it. I'm just making a public statement. Speaker Mike Johnson, you need to stop this. You need to stop releasing federal grants to these NGOs. I don't know why you are approving this. These are the NGOs that they're making millions out of the American taxpayer. Millions out of people that they are crossing through irregular pathways and risking their lives and dying. These are the people that they're actually smuggling from non-ports of entry into your country. NGOs are standing on the side of your country, just waiting for them to be processed and to be released into population. That's their job. That's the NGO's job, to give white peace, to give water. This is the problem. That's the number one problem that needs to be fixed immediately. Immediately. I didn't know that, that this was that he was releasing the funds. It's aggravating. It is completely aggravating. You know, I really was surprised. And we have to, you know, you have to Google that. You have to research, go duck, whatever Mozilla, use whatever the hell you want. And research, research. I'm sorry. I have a throat infection. I'm just getting better. Do your research. Do not believe me. Fact check me. Do whatever the hell you want. This guy that made this documentary that I met, great guy, by the way, Ryan Mata. Ryan Mata has an X account. Go and follow him. He's a great guy. And he just made a documentary, a great documentary exposing the reality. Ryan, I don't know if you're listening, brother, but let me just go to your profile. And the documentary, it is called Operation Amber Alert. Documentary just released 11/25/24. It was released on the 25th of November. And it is basically him explaining, it's a great documentary, by the way, the reality of the child trafficking in the United States of America. It already has 13,000 likes, 1.2 million views. Congratulations, Ryan. You're doing a great job. This is the guy that he told me the other day. Oscar, Oscar, you're great at the border. You're doing magnificent over there. You're doing a great job. But Oscar, you know what? The one that is approving, let me just give you a little slap on the wrist. The one that is approving all these federal grants is Speaker Mike Johnson. It's a matter of fact, he has approved more billions of dollars than Nancy Pelosi. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. No way. No way. The hell with that. There's no way possible. And I just said, like, what, you have to be kidding me. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I was live and I said, I so apologize. I'm so sorry. I'm try to be informed in your politics in your country, but I'm so sorry. And we cannot be pandering, Mike Johnson, to say it is not only him, it is these people that they're pressuring him and they're putting him in the corner and he just doesn't know where to go. Like, no, stop. These are men. These are men. They need to take decisions that is profitable to the country. He's a man. He's the House Speaker. He leads of the House Speaker. Stop with the pandering. He's releasing billions of dollars to these NGOs. I don't agree with that. I'm totally against funding these NGOs because it has been discovered how many millions of dollars they are making out of this human crisis. It is such a disgrace what these NGOs have done, what UNHCR, what you have done, what OIM has done, what the Global Compact on Migration with Antonio Gutierrez of the United Nations has done. Is a total catastrophe. It's a total disaster. A human crisis. People are dying because of this. And you're giving more money to these NGOs. It is bad. My God. Have you told Bannon? No, I haven't. I'm going to tell Bannon first, and like, hey, man, like, guess what? I didn't know this, really. I didn't know this. And I know what Bannon's going to say. Brother, something's not right there, brother. Hopefully it will change. Let's pray. That's what he's going to tell me. God bless everybody that is watching. What a beautiful live feed, man. I love when things are coming together and they're trying to fix a problem. At least we're sitting down and we're having a conversation. That's the situation. At least they're sitting down and having a conversation. And I'm saying sitting down and having a conversation, who? Both presidents, the president of the United States of America and the Mexican president. So they're sitting down and they're having a conversation on how to fix this. And by Donald Trump tweeting that he just had a wonderful conversation with the Mexican president, For me, that's phenomenal. That comes with high levels of volume. It speaks volumes of how, this is coming to a negotiation. So, I will suggest, somebody's asking right here. Rose Andrews, I would like to know which NGOs, how much in what those NGOs do, so we can track if these dollars are going to this. They're not going to this crisis. The dollars are going to make millions out of your American taxpayer. It has been discovered and investigated. You should go and watch this documentary. Man, let me see if I can. Chingao. Déjame ver. X platform, Twitter, X Twitter. Let me see at X. What is happening? What the hell? No, I don't have an account. Right here. Let me try to look for it. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So here we go. It's not letting me go in. Wow. Let me hold on right here. Well, it's not letting me go in. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can find him over here. And the other one, so I can. Oh my God, I'm not supposed to be doing these lives, man. I'm not supposed to, because I'm extremely. I think I'm getting more sicker and sicker every time, and I'm not getting better. It's not even released on his Instagram, so that sucks. I wanted to put your. Really sucks. I don't know where to find it. Go to Ryan. You have an X account. If you guys have an X account, Google Ryan Mata, and also you can find his X documentary right there. Let me see if I can just put it on screen like this. I'm sorry if I'm doing this without like this. I'm sorry if I'm doing this, but I'm just gonna do it like this. What the hell, man? Okay, there we go. I'm gonna put it on screen like this, and you guys can watch it. Right? I'm gonna put it right here on screen like this.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past?
You know what?
There is not a thing.
It sucks. I cannot. It gets me so upset, man. I get so upset. You know what? Can somebody else give me another platform that is not StreamYard? StreamYard, you really suck. Really, I gotta say it like this. Sometimes you don't let other platforms to come in here and get. My God, I get so upset with you sometimes StreamYard. Really, I get so upset with you, man. I get so upset with you because it's just stupid. You're not letting me Google the video. Let me just see if I can find his video. What's the video? Amber, what is it? What is the name? I'm trying to really Operation Amber Alert. Okay, Operation Amber Alert. Let me see if I can find it. Man, all of them are an X. Hijo de la chinga. A ver. Okay, here we go. I think Yay, we found it. Okay, Ryan. I got you, brother. I'm really sick. And the thing about it, I just gotta share this with my audience. It is not only the thing that I have, it is not just the coughing. It is the fever that I have, and it is just the complete drooling of, of the mucus and all that kind of, man. It's just so annoying, and me that I speak consistently, it sucks because I got to get ready in the next days to travel. So I got to be physically fit because you guys know that I always go on these places that they are extremely hard, walking and all this kind of stuff. And it's man, I gotta gather a lot of things and do a lot of stuff, and it interrupts my 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 mojo, man. It interrupts my mood to get things done. So this is for a lot of people who are asking, where are these NGOs, where it's coming, where are they doing, what this, what that. This guy did this. His name is executive producer Ryan Mata. You see him right here. He's a great guy, great guy. I've been talking to him for the past couple of days, and he has been doing incredible work. And he's a great guy, good dude. And he has been inviting me to these X spaces to speak. I didn't know how the X space works, so they have been inviting me to speak on these X spaces, and they have some people, man. So I've been speaking, on these X spaces, and people getting to know me. A lot of people know me, but a lot of people don't. So it's it's nice. These X spaces, I never thought that they were this interactive, and I would love to have my X space. I think that somebody already offered for me to manage the X space. I don't even know what is the whole thing, what is the whole deal. I didn't even know how to do them, but certainly somebody can help me out, and how to do this kind of stuff, right? But this is his documentary. This is a teaser, I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. So for a lot of the people that they do not know in terms of what happens in the United States, because a lot of people, what happens, the epicenter is from Mexico down. That's where it really the problem starts. But how it is being distributed, how they're making all this money, how it is being delivered. This is a great documentary to see that. And I believe it is the most explanatory documentary of how it is being actually done on purpose, and who's complicit and who's part of it. Let me put the clip so you guys can go and see, go and follow him on X. He's on X. I like that. Ryan Mata. He's a good guy. Good dude, man. Let me play this film so you guys can see it. And after we see it, you guys have your own opinion. It's 1 minute and 34 seconds, this clip.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala, where are the children? Kamala, where are the children?
America, what if I told you that the United States federal government was running the largest child trafficking network in the history of the world?
The U.S. has become the middleman in a multi-billion-dollar migrant child trafficking operation at the border.
Experts have told us that these kids are being drugged with Rohypnol to prevent them from telling authorities that these are not my parents. That's why they drug these children, so that these children are able to get trafficked across the border.
And that's what happens when you have these soft immigration policies that are allowing people to come in droves.
Say you're a family, and we'll take your word for it.
Are you ashamed for what you've done to this country?
America, what if I told you that the United States Border Patrol agents would create a public-private partnership with Mexican cartels so they could traffic in unaccompanied alien children into America?
We have people in there that have been bought out, unfortunately. That's a reality.
Should Secretary Mayorkas be impeached, sir?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
How can you say no when you know he's broken his oath?
The DHS under Mayorkas sent a memo out asking the Border Patrol agents to withhold information from the Office of Inspector General.
It's corrupt. It's corruption. And it all starts at the top.
America, what if I told you that this entire operation was a Democrat agenda and it was being bankrolled by Republicans? Would you believe me, or would you call me a conspiracy theorist?
That's the power of the purse, and we will use it, and we will use it.
One is oversight,
And that's a job that we have. And also, of course, the use of the power of the purse. We need accountability. And we will hold these administrators accountable.
The Democrats got everything they want in the spending, and all the hawks got what they want too.
All of this while the border is yet to be secured. Well, why? Why do you think that is?
They're afraid of the agencies. That's not compatible with democracy.
Yes, you heard that right. The US government has been hijacked by a network of elite pedophiles so entrenched that they are practically the wallpaper in Congress, the Senate, the White House, and every three-letter agency you can name. By the end of this, you won't just see your government differently. You'll see it for the cesspit of corruption and moral decay it truly is. Get ready to have your world rocked.
Whatever happened to the power of the purse? But for some reason, Republicans in the Senate are afraid to do this, and I can't for the life of me understand why.
I think the reason is because they're threatened.
Because they've been compromised by some of these Codell trips overseas, where these members of both the House and the Senate get compromised by sleeping with children.
Washington, D.C. is ground zero for pedophilia among the elite.
Wow, man.
And this continues on through the White House, through the Justice Department. It's not a swamp, it's an open sewer.
This is a strong clip. Wow, this is a strong clip. This is a strong clip. Strong clip. Strong clip. Everybody that has been working at the border, you know, they for years, it doesn't even matter if you're agreed, you don't agree with each other. We see exactly the same thing what is going on. It doesn't even matter if you think that is red and I think that is white. We see exactly the same thing that is going on. Exactly the thing. I have seen it in so many levels. I have seen it in so many levels, man. Different than this. I've seen it in so many levels. Jesus Christ. The PTSD that I carry sometimes. I've seen it in so many levels in the Darien Gap. I've seen it so many levels in Colombia. Seen it so many levels in Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala. So many levels at Caravan. So many levels, man. In Panama. So many levels. So many levels. But this is a great example of what is happening inside of the United States. So go and watch it. He's a good guy. And I have been talking to him for a couple of days. And he's extremely interested in doing something about it, you know? And so it's, we have been doing this for quite some years now. One thing led to another of our career, how it has completely drifted into going into these horrible places where we have seen the most horrible stuff. And, you know, good that it's possibly going to get something done. If I can, man, let me just tell you a little story. This was the last, and I don't even know if I have the energy to say this story, but I want to share it with you guys. I'll be open. Hopefully I won't cry. You know, hopefully I won't I will hold my breath. So I was in the Darien, and as soon as we came out the fourth time of the Darien, we were going up this mountain that is the mountain of death. So we were going up. And as we were going up, you know, you guys seen some videos, which I have been, out of the kindness of my heart, I help videos. I help kids sometimes carry them, you know, carry them down the mountain. And I have carry women also they have broken ankles, and I have done so much stuff out of the kindness of my heart that I shouldn't do because I'm a journalist, but I do it because I have a heart. And my heart, has been bluntly being shined by Jesus. I've been hanging out with all these people that they are really close and Christian. So, I as soon as I started hanging out with all these Christians, man, they get up and they eat breakfast. Let's pray, and I'm like, all right, let's pray. And then it's lunch. Hey, man, Oscar, let's pray. And I'm like, what the? Okay, again, let's pray. Then like, hey, something good happened. Let's pray. And I'm like, what the? Hey, wait, hold on, man. So I've been hanging out with all these people that they're Christian. They're so appreciative of God. When I was in Ukraine with Dave Eubank, the great Dave Eubank, an incredible human being, man. I had an interview with him. I haven't released that interview. That was an incredible interview with him going in the car. We were going to Ukraine. We were on this car in Poland, and I was going with him in this car, and he was explaining to me the wars and all this kind of stuff that Dave Eubank has gone. Man, this is Superman, man. Dave Eubank is Superman. And I said, Dave, man, you're categorized as Superman. It's like I'm close to Jesus, Oscar. Everything that man, a rocket goes by his head, and let's pray. We got good food. Let's pray. It's a miracle, man. What the people that I have been hanging out with, and it completely has changed my perspective of how to fight this. How to fight this in a more spiritual battle, in a more spiritual way. My circle has become so small of people that I hang out with that it has completely changed my heart of understanding the crisis and the suffering of people, because I've been in the more worse places like nobody else. And this is a story about a family that I saw them coming down the mountain of death. It was the mom, the dad, two young girls, one of them 13, the other one 19, and the other one was 4. And they were, they were coming down this mountain, right? And I actually have the video where I'm carrying the 4 or 6-year-old. I think it was 4. I have the video that I'm carrying the 4-year-old. I asked her because she was extremely tired, right? So later on, as we head out of the Darien, we went on the Emburse route. Like 6 days later, I received a message through my TikTok, and that is where I have more audience of the Latino audience. I think I have almost 600,000 followers over there in TikTok. And I received a message through there, and it was constant spam. So it was noticeable that somebody tried to contact me. And it was this woman. And she said, Oscar, we just came out, but it's urgent for me to talk to you. And I want to give you this interview because I need it. And I need to talk to you about what happened to me. So I said, who are you, first and foremost? So I saw the picture. And then later on, she sent me a picture of her in the Darien with her family. And I'm like, oh, I remember you. I carry your child. And she said, yeah. So I said, what happened? They're like, well, I need to talk to you by the phone. I cannot. So I went to the gym, came back, and I remember this young girl, man, 13-year-old, man. And I came back and I called her, right? And when I called her, she started explaining what happened. So she started saying that from where I saw her, there it was like 3 days to get out of the jungle. Still 3 days she had to go. And on the late that night, they camped out. 6 delinquent, evil men came with large guns and they kidnapped the whole camp of migrants. And this whole camp was around like 200 migrants. So she said that they took him to this mountain late at night. And then she started telling me, I need you to talk to the 13-year-old. So I said, I don't want to. And she said, I need you to just, for my daughter to get it out. So I said, okay. So I said, I'm not going to release this interview. I said, I'm by the way that it's going, I think that it's going to be something horrible. So her daughter was there, the two of them, the oldest ones, the 13 and the 19-year-old. And she told me, so they took us to this mountain, Oscar. They had us there the whole night. In the middle of the night, one of these animals came over to our tent. And asked me where was my 13-year-old? And I said, she's not here. And she was hiding her on the back. But it was the 19-year-old right there. But this guy said, no, I want the 13-year-old. So she asked, can you leave us alone? We will pay whatever you want us to pay. Just leave us alone. And this animal said, I will not let you advance and move, and you're going to die if you don't give me the 13-year-old. I will come back and I will find your daughter. So the guy left. She got out of the tent and started hiding to other tents. The youngest one, the 4-year-old, was with the dad. So he took that one to another tent. And this lady took the 19-year-old and the 13-year-old. This guy was looking for them with a flashlight. Sadly, they found them in a tent hiding. And she was explaining to me that when they got to the tent, this guy opened the tent and said, there you are. The mom told him, what are you going to do with my daughter? It's in the middle of the jungle, man. Nobody can hear you. It's jungle law. Nobody's there. And this guy said, don't worry. she's gonna come happy. The first ever intimate experience that this 13-year-old had was in the jungle with a criminal that made her give him oral sex. After this animal finished, the 13-year-old came running back to looking for her tent. She was vomiting and spitting and crying. And she was explaining to me on the phone how she felt. She said that it was the worst thing that she ever tasted in her life. And that doesn't end. It gets worse. As I was in the phone, she was crying, bad. So she started explaining to me that on the next day, they woke up really early, 5 o'clock. They took them to this mountain, another mountain, and they kidnapped them for 8 hours there. On those 8 hours, 3 animals came again to the tent. And these 3 animals came and looked for the 19-year-old and for the 13-year-old. The 19-year-old, she was explaining to me her experience as it was something that happened to her and she's trying to forget about it. But the 13-year-old was really heavy. It was bad. All the 6 men raped the 13-year-old through every single part. She says to me, Oscar, I don't want to be with no man for the rest of my life. She was brutally raped by 6 men. Bad. As she was seeing also how her sister was being also raped in front of her being raped. And as they were explaining to me this, I didn't know how to react because I saw that family. I carried the 4-year-old for quite some time, helping them to not die in the jungle. But it was so bad to hear that. This is why I say the things that I have seen, the things that I have encountered in my life, they're not even comparable to what happens in the border in the U.S. It's bad. And they wanted me to release the interview. But I couldn't. The 13-year-old has psychological trauma. Sometimes she doesn't want to speak for days. And I said, I'm not going to do it. And the mother got concerned why you're not doing it. I'm saying it's too much. I said, I don't think that I can do it. I have seen rape with my own eyes to these migrants. Decomposed bodies, people drowning, children drowning, being helped, carried out, caravans, children that are sedated and all this kind of stuff. That is actually, you see it in the north, but imagine seeing it in a caravan. It's bad. But these are the experiences that we carry. These are the experiences that we carry. As I have said multiple times when I have been talking to my audience, I adapted myself since I started putting myself through this horrible punishment of documenting like in a jungle. I understood that my mind and my body was made to feel pain and then to release it. Sometimes it's pretty hard to release it. It's pretty hard to see all these atrocities to humans and the hands of these globalists, in the hands, of these bad politicians that they're making money, out of people. This is just one that I can tell you. Man, I have another one. There was another one. Man, I can go the whole night. This was a migrant from Haiti. This was on a third journey. So we were going up. And we were in the birth route. My brother Ben was really sick on the third day. And we were having problems with him because, he was sick and he wanted to keep going. So we said to him, hey man, it's we cannot continue. I had a long talk with him. Like, you're sick. You got really sick. It's not that he cannot physically be fit. He's an animal. When he comes to climbing mountains, Ben Bergquam he's an animal, man. He's a goat. So he's an animal. And he always carries a backpack that is extremely heavy. He's a beast, man. As we were heading out, that trip was the most exhausting depressing trip of all the four that I had. I saw decomposed bodies, people drowning, people getting raped, assaulted. So much, to absorb in 3 to 4 days. So on my third day that we had to return. On this large group of migrants, there was a family from Haiti. And there was a male around my age was younger than me. He was in his late 30s. And he approached me and he said, "Hey, I seen your videos in the Darien." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I shook his hand, and I remember his name. His name is Walter. And as he's you know, as he is walking with me, he's telling me, you know, you heard about a guy, you know, that, and he stopped. He never said anything. And I said, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And he goes, "Yes, I'm okay." So he was one of the guys that was keeping up with us. You know, to walk with Senate front officials, you have to have extremely good physical condition. There's nothing else that you have to be extremely prepared. The border agents of Panama, they're the best border agents for me in the world. They're animals, man. So we were walking with them, and the Haitian guy was in the back. He was keeping up, and he was exhausted, and he looked depressed, like something was going on. And every time that he stopped for water, he was trembling, and he cried a couple of times. And I'm like, hey, I looked at him, but I said, like, possibly he's tired and he's realizing that it's never going to change, you know. And so we get out of the jungle. We get out of the jungle, and I see him and the migrant camp Bajo Chiquito. You know, I went to the military station. They have a military station there. They let us in. We took a shower. We hung out a little bit, and then I said, "Hey, man, I always take a walk late at night, so I take a couple of officials to walk with me, a couple of agents, and they walk with me. They like to walk with me, man." So I'm walking with them, and we're playing around, and I see Walter right there, and I see him sitting down, and there was a chicken kitchen. There were like a little restaurant, and he was sitting down right there. I said, "Hey, Walter, you already ate?" He said, "No, I'm not hungry." And he started crying, and I said, "Hey, man, I wanted to ask you, like, what's going on? Like, I saw you crying multiple times. Like, what's the deal with you having these episodes? Like, there's something going on?" And he said, "Oscar, did you heard about a migrant that hung himself up the mountain where we were coming down?" So the day that we were going to go up, they told us that there was a migrant that committed suicide and he hung himself in the Darien. So what the agents wanted to do is go over there, have the location, then get out and send the Minister of Security team to go over there and do the analysis and the forensics and all this kind of stuff. So they will have a pinpoint of where the location was of this man. So I said, "I heard something like that. Why you say that?" And he said, "That was my best friend." And he started crying more. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, "I'm so sorry. That was your best friend." And he said, "No, that's not why he committed, you know, why he committed suicide. It is what it has me like this." And, you know, this was raining season. It was really bad. You know, it was really bad to walk on rainy season. You have rivers that they are going up here and you have to jump. And it's the current, it drags you, man. It's you know, I consider myself a strong guy, and it drags you. It's really difficult, man. It's life, between life and death. So I asked him, like, no, but what happened? And he just started, you know, crying his heart out, crying, like crying. And he just said, my best friend was carrying his child, his 3rd-year-old. You know the river that is up Caña Blanca? And I said, yeah, that's a really difficult river crossing. He said he was crossing with his child, and the river took his child. And he actually saw how his child was being dragged the river going down the stream, and he could not do anything about it. So the child drowned. He got out of the river with his best friend. The guy couldn't bear himself, and that night he took away his life. Sometimes when I say, a lot of people do not understand this. Sometimes when I say Alejandro Mayorkas should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity, these are the crimes against humanity that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people walking and breaking their ankle and, you know, all this kind of stuff. I'm talking about these kind of people that they suffer the consequences of open border policies and that they never recover, and they're never going to recover in their life. Like me, I'm never going to recover. I'm not. You know, I'm prepared to go over there, and my heart is like a stone now because I've seen the worst of the worst. But I'm never going to be the same. I already know that in my heart, that I'm never going to be the same at all. But these are the kinds of things that makes us fight more to find justice for these people, that they are releasing, that they're doing it all for money, for a political purpose, and that they are doing it for just a global agenda. Meanwhile, innocent lives have been lost. Women are being raped. So many women that I've seen rape in the Darien Gap. Man, I've been, you know, when I'm walking sometimes, and they tell us they're robbing us, they're stealing us. So I'm going and I'm walking with my camera, and I'm asking consistently, "Were you robbed?" Yes. And I'm to the women, "Were you touched?" And they say, "Yes, they touched my private parts. They did this, they did that." I'm like, oh my God. You know, it's so traumatic. But when I say this, it's because I mean it with the bottom of my heart. All of these people, they need to be held accountable for crimes against humanity. All of these people. Alejandro Mayorkas, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, you know, Nancy Pelosi. And now that I'm seeing the people, some Republicans, that they are participating on this, giving away billions of dollars, millions of dollars to federal grants to these NGOs, that they're profiting out of human misery. That's why a lot of people are saying you're just getting in there to get clicks, and like, this is a leftist, that they always trying to denigrate you. And they always trying to make you feel bad and less, because they know that you know the story. Yeah, you know, whatever progressive, mercenary, activist, leftist that is in favor of open borders, you will not live one day in the Darien, you pansy. And you cannot stand in front of me and tell me how this works. Because we've seen it. I've seen it all from the South American continent into the North. Even also in caravans, I've seen multiple abuse, man. Multiple abuse. You know, I remember an experience in a caravan, and I have this clip. You know, I have this clip on man, I got so many hundreds of stories, man. It's just my mind. If I can speak, woof. I got this clip on, there was a confrontation between the net, and you know what? I believe strongly that Jesus puts me on these places to show this. That's why I prayed to God when I was in the federal system for 4 years. I prayed to him for forgiveness, and I also told him, use me as a tool for me to help you for whatever you need. And I think that he's doing it right now. I don't know if he is or not, but I strongly believe that Jesus is helping me to help him in whatever way possible. And I have this clip of we're going on this caravan, and it's all men. Like majority is men, like all men, and all of them, they're aggressive, right? They're extremely aggressive. They're big, and I'm there recording, and I'm on a live stream, and I have like a lot of people watching, right? And in the front, you have this adult. This is an actual clip that I believe that I have. Let me see if I have this clip. I don't know if that is the promo. I think it's the promo. I think it's I don't know. I'm trying to find the clip. So it's an adult that is basically carrying a child that is so sedated, but he's confronting the National Guard with this child, and he's carrying the child like this, and his head is like the child. It's so drugged up. You can actually see that. I think I have that clip on a caravan. And that's when you realize, like, holy cow, man, this is, this is so bad. Like there was another clip that I have on a caravan. There's actually an adult walking with a toddler on a hot concrete, no shoes, and with just I think there was underwear, no shirt. It was a female child, and she's walking. This guy's walking with her for kilometers, and the child actually her feet, they're burning, and they're cut. You actually can see her blood in her feet. And I'm seeing that, and I say to him, like, hey, man, like, carry the child. At that time, we cannot, in a caravan, you cannot touch no migrant. It's not like the Darien, because right there, it's against it. It's against the law. But I'm telling him in his face, like, carry the child, man, carry the child. And he's like, no, she can walk. I'm like, it's so bad. This is so different than what you see at the border. It's so bad. like the experience that there was another story. Man, I'm releasing some stories. I feel like I feel like I'm I'm in the mood of releasing some stories. There's this story of in the Darien. There was this woman that she had like a bamboo stick, like the one that I walk all the time. And she was walking and we saw her, she was okay. But later on, because she had diabetes, she started losing her eyesight. And all of a sudden, I look into her eyes and it's like green, like purple. It's bad color. And she starts like screaming, I can't see, I can't see, I can't see. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, so I'm a little concerned. So I'm looking at her face and she's kind of touching my face. And like, are you there? And I'm like, yes, I'm here. I'm the journalist. I'm here. She goes, I can't see. And her diabetes went so, I think it went so high that, she lost her eyesight. And I don't know how she got out. I don't know if she made it out. The other one, another story, it was the one that we encountered when it was the gunfight. Man, those are two stories right there. So there was a group of criminals raping women and robbing migrants. And in the Darien, this is when we encountered the gunfight. So it was the first time in my life that I saw a woman telling me I just got raped. And as we were walking towards where the criminals were, there was a large group of migrants coming towards our way. And we intercepted them. And we asked them, like, where the criminals are. And she's like, they're right here, up here. A couple of migrants, they were crying, men. And they told us last night they came down, they robbed us. And they took one of the girls and all of them, they raped her together. And I said to them, move, continue. Because we were hearing those kind of stories continuously the whole day. The sad story was when we encountered another group of 15, 20 migrants. And they started, telling us, we just got robbed, women got raped. And I asked, like, is there any women that they got raped on this group? And everybody looked to the back. I remember this little girl's face. And I saw her. She was 18 at that time. Possibly she's going on 20 now. That is never going to leave my face. Never going to leave my memory, man. And she came all the way up to the front. And I looked at her in the eyes and she was lost. She couldn't speak. She was, like trying to cover her breast. She had clothes on, but she was trying to cover her breast. Like she was so embarrassed. And I just said, like, are you okay? And she goes like this. No, she was crying. And I asked her again, "Are you okay?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Grab my hand." And she didn't want to grab my hand. I said, "It's okay, grab my hand." And she grabbed my hand. And I said, "Were you raped?" And she goes like this. "Were you abused?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "What happened?" These animals made her take away her clothes off in front of everybody and spread her legs and touch her in disgusting ways in front of everybody. It was so sad. I hugged her and I told her, "Don't worry, they're going to get him." That later on that day, there was a gunfight. We were in the middle of this gunfight. Bullets flying on top of us, and one of the bad guys got killed. Two of them got arrested. And we got extracted out from the jungle in a helicopter. After we got extracted out, later that evening, the next day on the evening, I received a message on my Instagram, and it was her. And she said, "You're an angel in my life. I'm never going to forgive you. Never going to forget you." And I said, "I'm always going to be here for if I can help. I don't know how." You know, those kind of things are, that same day, there's another story. Got so many, man. Kianis del Pilar. This is the young lady that that got shot when the criminals were ambushed by Centerfront. So one of the criminals, the one that died, had already picked her to rape her. And luckily the Centerfront officials came in and one of the bad guys started running and shooting towards them. And he shot this girl in the stomach. You actually can see it in the video when the criminals got stopped, detained, and the guy was neutralized, dead. You actually see migrants carrying her across the river. It was for her, it was the most scariest thing of her life. I talked to her. We became friends. And I saw her being carried into the ground on the other side. And I said, "What happened to you?" And she said, "I got shot." So I didn't know this. So I told the lieutenant, "Hey, that he's a combat paramedic." I thought, "She's shot." Same day, man. We had all these experiences same day. Multiple women being raped, bodies, dead bodies, all this kind of, man, heavy day. And, gunfight, all this. And then, this lady being in the ground, shot in the stomach. So I'm grabbing her hand. I remember I'm grabbing her hand, and we started praying, like really hard, you know. And I started saying, don't go away. Everything's gonna be okay, you know. And the paramedics started putting some morphine, some other stuff for her to just not feel the pain. And you know, helicopters are coming, and there was a moment that she was almost passing out that I'm like, oh my gosh, she's dying. And I'm like praying so hard, and Ben is always praying. You know, we were praying so hard over there over her. And like, Lord, please help her to just make it. She doesn't know what she has done. You know, she made a huge mistake. And, you know, all of this, man, and she got, the paramedics got there on a helicopter. They came in, they put on the stretcher, and I'm looking at her and she's looking at me, and I said, you're going to be okay. Then we got extracted out of the Darien. She went to the hospital. She got this massive operation in her stomach to get the bullet out because it was hiding underneath some organ that I don't even know where. Luckily, the bullet didn't hit no organ. Luckily. And she got operated, and she had a son back in Venezuela. The video went so viral, it had 23.6 million views on TikTok, on my TikTok. Then later on, it was taken down. All her family saw that video. Scary. She survived. Then later on, you know, she was with her brother, and she messaged me and he said, like, hey, Oscar, through Instagram, remember me? And I saw her face, and immediately it doesn't, you know, it doesn't go away. You know, it doesn't go away. So I said, yeah, what's going on? I said, like, are you okay? She goes, yes, I'm okay. I'm back home now. I'm going to send you a video of me coming home. And she sent me a video, and then you have this, she's like 26, 27 years of age. You have this young woman coming back home on, you know, on a stretcher, and then some. She's holding like a cane coming home. She can barely walk, to hug her son. You know, this is how bad it is. You make people migrate through these places, man. It's so bad. Man, it's so bad. Seeing so many stories, man. So many stories, so many children that I carried out. So many kids. So many women, so many men that I carried out. It's not fair for people to not be held accountable with consequences over these crimes against humanity. This is not fair. You know, I can go on a whole week speaking about stories that we have found in the Darien caravans. Man, it's never ending. But, you know, that day was really heavy. I remember that trip. I came back home, and because of all that I seen, I got sick. I got malaria, initiations of malaria, first stage or something like that. So I got really sick and I was at home laying down for like a whole week. I was really sick for like a whole week. And then on the second week, I started getting better. So how, you know, as I'm starting getting better, I'm starting getting like flashbacks. You know, I started getting flashbacks of the kid that I carried out, and I never seen him before, and he asked me if I could be his dad for one day, you know. So I started getting all these flashbacks, all these nightmares, man. I started getting all these things late at night, like I couldn't sleep. Like I was going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just sleep for like an hour, and then you wake up all of a sudden, and then you're like remembering. It's not like you wake up and no, it's not like that. It's like you wake up and then you live that moment again. Like it's something really weird. Like you live that moment, that specific moment, like you're like open up your eyes, and then all of a sudden you're like living that moment again, and you're like, man, damn, man, you know. So that happened to me for like a whole week. It's bad. So I started, I called my mom and I told my mom, hey, you know what's going on? You know what can I do? And said, you need to go to talk to a priest. My mom's Catholic. I'm Catholic, converting to Christian. So we know a good priest over here, and so I went to the priest and I said to him all the trip, the experience of the trip. I said to him, this is what's going on, man. I don't know what the hell. And he started praying so hard. And I felt, the Holy Spirit trying to calm me down, because I was like emotional and letting it all out. Because when you're traveling with these border agents of Panama, they make you understand that you don't have feelings in those places. You cannot cry, you cannot break down, because you're there to do a job and a mission, and you have to do it. That's it. So I had to handle it. But then later on, when you come home, there's no mission. It's like you're back to being yourself. And sometimes you feel like you don't fit in your home. Like you're not supposed to be here. Like you need to go out again to the jungle, or you need to be in those places. That's how I feel sometimes. I feel like, what am I doing here, man? I need to go out on the field again. I cannot be here. So it's like it's weird. And then I go to I went to the priest and I started talking to him. And he started like saying to me, you need to release it all. So I started talking to him like for like an hour. And I told him worse stories that I'm saying over here. And he's like, well, we need to pray. And he started praying, and it gotten better. It's just, it took a little while. I had to go to boxing. Boxing has become my my psychologist. Recently got a cut right here. I don't know if you guys see it. A cut right here. I went and had some sparring, and I got a cut right here. But that's my therapy. I go to boxing ring and I release it all. There was a Caravan that it was really bad. This was the TDA Caravan. It was in 2021. We were the first ones that broke this story. We were the first ones that broke this story. It was in 2021. I was walking with a really disastrous Caravan, man. So really bad Caravan. I had to go to when I came back from home, I isolated myself from going out for like a whole week because it was so contaminating. The energy was so bad on that caravan that actually I saw so much abuse of children, so many unaccompanied minors, so many adults that they were not even their parents. It was like hundreds of them, man. Not talking about one, two. I saw, man, it's outnumbered, and you're actually seeing these confrontations, and you're seeing these bad people. You're seeing all of these bad people, man. And some of them, they're carrying knives. You're like, what's going on? These are supposed to be migrants. These are not, you're not supposed to be a criminal. You're supposed to be a migrant. Migrants migrate to get a better life. They don't carry knives. They don't want to stab somebody, or they don't want to hurt somebody, or go and stab the authorities or something like that. And that was actually happening. I was in the middle of it, and a migrant came over on a live video, and he said, I have a knife. I don't give a F if I have to kill somebody. If they don't give us papers, blood is going to be shed all over this place. And I'm watching this guy just coming to my camera and say that to me. Now I'm like, whoa, that guy possibly, he's the most, it's more than likely 100% that he is in the United States already. More than likely he is in the United States already. He's 100% that I'm saying that he's in the United States. More than 100%. I'm more than convinced that he is in the United States. We've seen so many situations, so many experiences. When in the last story, because I got so many, man, but I think that's, I think that I said enough. Last trip that we were in the Darien, Lieutenant Guerra, that he's the head of the group, border agents. He told us that he was rescuing an Afghan family that, their boat capsized and they drowned, the majority of them. But the whole thing was the story, what he was explaining to me was the most sad thing to hear, was a father, the leader of the family, and it was 6 members of the family. And so 6 members of the family, the 6 members died. And only one survived, and that was the father. And the father was the one that had the idea to pay the cartel and to smuggle them across this route that we already went through. And he was showing us a video of how they were, the bodies and all this kind of stuff. But the thing about it was the reaction of the father, because the reaction of the father was when he was seeing the bodies, it was like, it was like talking to a ghost. And it was a couple of young kids. One that it was 6. The other one, it was a young child. She was 8. Was his wife, his oldest son, his brother, and the wife of his brother. And all of them, they drowned. Jesus. All of them. And he was the only one to survive. Imagine the guilt that that guy was feeling. Imagine the guilt. I cannot even imagine the guilt. I really cannot imagine the guilt that that guy, you know, so many. I think the one that story that really has, completely moved me was that a one that I got pinned in my platforms. It's actually this picture. A lot of you guys have seen it. A lot of you guys have seen this picture, right? I believe that's, when I've seen so many, and I have been present so many in caravans and all this kind of stuff, so many bad stories. So many bad stories and stories from migrants and all this kind of stuff. And I've seen so many confrontations and they're bad and kind of stuff like that, really bad, right? But I remember this one because it's the one that has lived in my mind, and it is like a nightmare. It doesn't leave me alone, man. It's really like a nightmare. It doesn't leave me alone. And I don't want to go to know somebody to talk to. I understand what the problem is. It's a memory that lives there, and it's a memory that lives there. And it's just a kid that I carried for several rivers. And then lastly, when I carried him last time, he told me if I could be his dad. Sometimes a lot of these people that they, are pro-abortion, they don't even realize, what life is, man. And sometimes a lot of spoiled kids, they don't understand what really necessity is. My son is 9, and I have been teaching him a lot about life and a lot about what these young kids go through and how privileged he is to have a roof, to have food on the table, to have clothes, and to go to school, and to have God. A lot of these kids, they're not privileged to even have a parent. And, that made me feel really bad because I carried that child for so many hours that I wish that I could have him as a child. Really, I will do whatever it could be in my power to have him as a child. I will do whatever it took in my power to find him and to see if he wanted to be my child, because I couldn't do more that day. You know, that was the more that I can do. Get him out of a river. But later on, I didn't know if I could feed him, if he was scared, because he was extremely scared, you know, and he was really scared. So I try to comfort in a way, but it's bad, you know, because I couldn't find him anymore. So I don't know how to find him. So it was really hard for me to go and try to find him. I didn't know how. And I was looking for him at a camp and he was not there. So I live with that. I think it's kind of I don't know if it is guilt. I don't think that it is guilt. I think that is more of a, you know, God is telling me to continue to praise his name, because I don't know where he is. He's 11. At that time he was 11, possibly he's 12. You know, and I don't know where he is. That basically is killing me, man. I'm not even going to lie. That hasn't left me alone. That hasn't left me alone. I'll be honest with you. That is really bothering me. It bothers me a lot. It's bothering. You know, at first it was every day. It was bothering at night. Couldn't sleep. You know, having nightmares and all this kind of stuff. That's kind of like, it was bothering. You know, it was really bothering me. But later on, it just went away. And I know tonight it's gonna bother me because I'm talking about it. I'm gonna go right now and take a shower, and then after that, you know, possibly gonna go to bed. But it's going to bother me. I already know. That's the bad thing about it. Been going on for 2 hours. That's about it. Man, I can stay up the whole night. You know, to tell you stories. So God bless you guys. Stay safe. Thank you so much for all your loving messages. It's kind of like it's hard. It's like it's so many stories, man. So many of them. So many. Man, I can go on and on and on the whole night. Be here for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, man, telling you stories of this, and that, and this is what happened, and this is what later on happened, and I can go on and on and on and on and on and more, and it will never go away. God bless you guys. Buy me a coffee's right there. I'm traveling in the next incoming days. So your support is much needed. It's really much needed. So buy me a coffee is right there. It will help a lot for me to get for the food and the travel expenses. So thank you so much for all your support. God bless you, and let our Lord and Savior bless you this tonight. A lot of people are saying you should write a book. There's a book that is coming out that has all these stories, more detailed and a little bit more graphic, because I can't be graphic in the platform. They will take it down and I will get flagged and all this stupidity. So I don't do that right. So God bless you. Stay safe. Like we always say, God's plan, it is our mission.